This is Apropos. It is one of the French capital's most coveted retail spots, and fast fashion giant Shein will soon be setting up shop there. To the dismay of competitors, ecologists and City Mayor Anne Hidalgo, the Chinese firm is opening its first ever physical boutique here in Paris at the BHV department store. Siobhan Silk has the story.
It's one of the temples of Parisian shopping. The venerable BHV department store has been a mainstay of the historic Marais neighbourhood for almost 170 years. So its decision to let ultra-fast fashion behemoth Shein set up shop has sparked a flurry of objections. It's seen as enough of a betrayal to get BHV unanimously kicked out of France's industry body for department stores, while several French brands announced they would pull their products from BHV in protest. And the news got store employees onto the street.
There's real history in this store. Just 2 years ago, BHV was fully committed to our Go for Good policies, promoting products that were French, made in France, or at least artisanal.
Shein doesn't align at all with the values of BHV. Shein, with its image of ultra-fast fashion and its unfair online competition that destroys jobs, simply doesn't fit.
Ultra-fast, ultra-cheap and a seemingly endless supply of made-in-China throwaway fashion. In just a few years, Shein has become the world's biggest online clothing retailer. Tapping into demand like that is tempting for brick-and-mortar stores struggling to compete. Shein has already tested in-person retail in France with a number of pop-up shops, but the 1,200 square metre BHV outlet set to open next month would be its first permanent physical presence in the country. BHV's parent company SGM also owns several branches of another of the grandes dames of French department stores, Galeries Lafayette. SGM wants to install Shein in some of those stores too, but this time the objections are coming from inside. Galeries Lafayette's management says it doesn't want its store's name associated with Shein and has vowed to stop Shein at the doors.
Well, for more, we're joined now by fashion journalist, podcast host and author Dana Thomas. Dana, thanks so much for being with us on the programme. So, in a nutshell, if you can, why the uproar?
Well, the uproar is several reasons. First of all, Shein is one of the big forces in ultra-fast fashion, the leading force in ultra-fast fashion, which is about churning out clothes that are sort of not even like, fast food, but like ultra-fast food, like the most high-processed junk food you can have. It's the junk food of fashion. It's super cheap. We burn through it, and it gets thrown into landfill where it doesn't biodegrade, and it's very toxic to the planet. And we're just being flooded by these clothes. So the irony, the reason that they're doing this is because this summer, and the French government, the French Senate, passed a law saying that they was going to charge 10 euros per garment purchased online, because until now Shein has been primarily an online retailer. It didn't have stores. That was part of what made it so cheap and so easy. And so what do they do to get around having to pay that extra fee? They open a store where they're going to pull in gazillions of people. I love that they're doing this just directly across the street from the Mairie Paris, from the Hotel de Ville, where Mayor Anne Hidalgo is, having a meltdown over this. She'll be able to see it, from her office. And I think that it really is sort of, sticking out their tongue a bit at the government by doing it at the BHV as opposed to someplace else in town.
And it really is quite a substantial retail space, isn't it? It's over 1,000 square metres, prompting,
it's
as we saw.
It's enormous.
Yeah. And on the 6th floor. Why do you think the department store itself is actually doing this, though? By all accounts, it's not in great financial health at the moment.
That's exactly it. All department stores, not just the BHV or the Galeries Lafayette, but all department stores have been having a very difficult time with the advent of e-tailing. The first online department store really was Net-a-Porter, and that's been about 20 years. But now it's enormous. We have My Teresa, we have, all sorts of, and Galeries Lafayette and the BHV are online. You don't need to go into the stores. And so these big old 19th century stores are really struggling. They're either going super up market like the Bon Marché and Harrods, where it's super luxury and it's just catering to very deep-pocketed tourists. But the BHV is for Parisians, and Parisians go less and less to department stores. So they needed to do something to pull people in. And what's the biggest thing that they could do? Bring in the cheapest fashion you can find that's kind of fun and easy to buy and sort of easy to digest, like fashion, in a way, the ice cream cone of fashion, and put it on this huge floor where you're just kind of swimming in this, and you can get it immediately. So it's super instant gratification, even more so than ordering it online.
And you'd kind of think that this fast fashion retailer doesn't actually need the extra business. But let's talk about some of the criticisms, the many criticisms that are directed at it, and how can it be better regulated? You've mentioned that new initiative being brought in here in France, but the EU is also moving towards trying to clamp down on this ultra fast fashion.
Yes, the EU is sending out some mixed messages right now on its battle against the environmental impact of the fashion industry, because fashion is one of the least regulated businesses out there. I mean, if you think about the automobile industry or the aviation industry, we know how many cars are made. We know how many planes are made. We have no idea how many clothes are made every year. Nobody has to actually report how many clothes they produce. We know it's somewhere between 80 and 110 or 120 billion, but we don't know very much, because it's so unregulated. And, in this wide global supply chain where the clothes are made don't have to have, meet basic safety standards that we have in Europe or in the United States. It's really the wild, wild west. So this is one of the reasons that Shein has come under fire, because we don't really know how the clothes are made. We know that it's super cheap, but is there forced labor in the supply chain? It's all very opaque, right? And then they're just pushing more and more consumption, and we're already overproducing clothes. Like I said, we make about 100 billion items a year. Only 80 billion are sold. 20 billion are thrown into the landfills or into trash or into incinerators before they even hit the retail floor. We're producing way too many clothes, and Shein is just ratcheting that up by luring us into buying more that's even cheaper than Zara and H&M and Gap.
And this controversy, it doesn't appear to be putting off customers, does it? There were huge crowds at the pop-up store that we saw here in Paris during Fashion Week. And when, people were asked about what they thought of this new physical shop opening up permanently, nobody was really talking about their environmental concerns.
And that's one of the reasons I wrote my book, Fashionopolis, so that consumers and shoppers would go, oh, I had no idea that this had such a huge impact on the planet and on people, on us. So, no, I mean, this is cheap thrills. This is cheap fun. It's fun to go shopping. It's one of our favorite pastimes. And Shein is so inexpensive. It's cheaper than going to the movies. So, why not go and have a good time and get these fun clothes and play dress up? And then when they look really terrible after you wore them 2 or 3 times, you can throw them away, and it doesn't matter because you only paid €5 for it, So, it's like like I said, ice cream. It's like eating candy. It's it's like the candy bin of fashion, and it's fun, but it's bad. It's bad for you, just like if you eat too much candy.
And it is, though, an affordable alternative for many people who say that they can't afford more expensive clothes, isn't it, Donna?
But you can.
You can. But
it's just that these companies have been brainwashing us to not pay as much as we should for clothing.
And what would you say then to defenders of the likes of Shein, who say that, putting taxes on these products, it won't make the companies behind them more responsible. It just makes these products themselves more inaccessible.
It's not making it more inaccessible. I mean, to add €10 to a shirt that only costs $5 is not making it is not making it impossibly expensive to buy. €10 is nothing. It's like the $5 fee to go into Venice. It's really nothing, right? In the bigger picture, if they were putting $1,000 on it, then we could be, or euros, we could be talking about something. If there was the 100%, even if it was 100% tariff, it would still be cheap. So. No, it's that's not a true argument. But at the same time, I do not think that it's going to slow people down from buying this stuff, because it's still, impossibly cheap and half the price of regular fast fashion, or even a third or a fourth the price.
And Donna, do you think our other brands?
It's just like.
Are other brands making more of an effort then to be more environmentally friendly, to be more ethical? If we talk about the likes of Zara, H&M, are they doing anything actually substantially better than these ultra fast fashion
Substantially better?
brands?
No. Substantially better? No. They're making little efforts, tweaks, but all of these companies, all these fast fashion companies, whether it's Zara and H&M, the old school fast fashion. It's hard to believe we call them old school now. They've been around for, well, H&M's been around for more than half a century, but they're and then the ultra fast fashion, their business models are based on volume, moving volume, pushing volume, selling, overselling, pushing consumption, pushing rapid consumption of these clothes. So as long as their business model is based on moving product, as much product as possible, more than we could ever wear, they will never be responsible. They will never be, sustainable. They will never be climate respectful. It's impossible because they're just putting out more product than we can and the planet can absorb. And they're doing it in a way where workers are paid half a living wage, and then we're shipping it around the world. So the carbon footprint on every garment is enormous. And, using toxic materials and, petroleum-based fabrics like polyester and nylon, which is basically plastic and never biodegrades. And that's what's making these clothes so cheap, because that fabric's so cheap. So no, even if they're doing like a conscious collection, that makes up maybe 1% of their production and less of their sales. And it's, no, it's tiny. Until they completely systematically change their business model, they will never be responsible brands.
Dana, as ever, thanks so much for being with us on the programme. That is Dana Thomas, fashion journalist, podcast host and author.